Hello, my mimics. Welcome back to the Mimic Commentary, episode 146. I'm the Mimic, so you don't have to. That's a reference to the Nostalgia Critic. Anyway, what a special episode we have today. We get to go through Nokron. And before we go through Nokron, before we look at all the spooky, scary stuff that's going on in the underground, I wanted to bring up some theorizing we could do. So a few episodes ago, not a few episodes ago, 70 episodes ago, I think it might have been Imitation Crab. We have a user in the Discord, they're not a member, they're named Gnar, Gnar, and they've been catching up in the Mimic Commentary. And they made an interesting observation about mist. And I really did not talk about what we're finding down here and how it relates to Celia. You know, I think it's worth us doing a recap of kind of the mimicry as we've found it so far through the Lands Between. So, our first introduction to some mimics is right here. Did I mark... I haven't marked any of the mimics, I just know there. So we had a noble who was a rune bear. He gave us our first larval tier. Then, I think our next big, jumping out mimics, maybe not the next big one, but we got our first silver tier. So I guess let's start back. We got our larval tier. Core of a creature of mimicry known as a silver tier, as much as a substance as it is a living organism. Material acquired by the amber egg, cradled by Ranni, queen of the full moon, to birth people anew. Being born anew allows the relocation of attributes boosted by leveling up. Okay, so we level up with Melina. She turns our runes into strength. We share with her our thoughts, our ambitions, the principles that we would follow, and that is how we get our levels. So later in our playthrough, when we actually got to do this to change our attributes, we're essentially, not only are we changing our levels, but we also might be changing our ambition, the principles that we follow. What is it? Our thoughts, our ambitions, the principles that we would follow. Tying what Melina says to what we actually do mechanically when using a larval tier, it's almost as if using a larval tier is telling the game, my thoughts are different, my ambitions are different, I am following different principles. I'm being guided by something different. We started kind of looking at the shape. I made an illusion that, kind of the dragon heart kind of reminds me of a larval tier. It just kind of does. The next, I guess the thing that really jumped out with mimicry, silver tiers, mimic tiers, tiers. You know, we had this larval tier, and then we got sacred tiers. So tiers are being used to evoke power and change and growth in Elden Ring. But it wasn't until we came down here and we fought against the Claymen. So men made of clay, fake men. Do we have... we can't summon them. Well, whatever. So the Claymen, the interesting thing about the Claymen was they're bubbles. So they're men made of clay, but they serve as priests of the ancient dynasty, and they have this sigil, they have the Selian sigil. The Selian sigil that we learned in the Weeping Peninsula from Ambush Shard by Selen, and there's 2 copies of Selen. Then we go through the Claymen doing prophecies. They search for oracles in their bubbles, so they're searching for prophecies, and they're found in this ancient dynasty, deep underground. Then we go through Liurnia. We learn all about the Carians, and we've been comparing. Well, the Selian sigil kind of looks like the Carian sigil, and the Carians are kind of mimicky. You know, this isn't a real sword. It's mimicking it's mimicking a sword. This isn't really a great bow. It's mimicking a great bow. They have albinorics in their employ. Albinorics are like artificial people. They're made by human hands. And then what do you know? The albinorics, they got silver blood. Running around down here, we got these melted mushrooms. That behaves like oil, so they kind of have like oil blood, and this oil is getting clogged up, and it gives them blood clots. Albinoric blood clot. So it's not like real blood. It's not like beast blood, but it's kind of like beast blood. When we were in Shifra, We're going back and forth. I'm trying to remember this all. We developed the Mimic game. The Mimic game. The Mimic game is the original, the copy, the genuine article, which comes from our Lost Ashes of War. Thus does the copy pass into becoming the genuine article, which is the original. And then the copy, the obvious copy of the original, so we know that one's a copy, one's the original. Then we have the genuine article. We can't decide, is the genuine article original, or does it surpass the original? You know, so it makes it difficult. The genuine article is really what confuses us. Then when we go through Celia, we learned a lot about when we went through Caelid and we learned a lot about the Selians. The Selians is where, like, things start to crack open. And, you know, I forgot that we haven't done this yet, so let me just mark that down to remember. The Selians, they had a Mikola lily. They seem Mikola aligned. A lot of Mikola's lilies throughout Caelid. And what do we know about the Selians? Oh, they were kind of spirit. They were kind of like spirits a little bit. They were kind of like spirits. They were invisible from distance, which makes sense because their sorceries are invisible. So things that we can't see, which makes sense for Eternal Darkness. And we've done our Eternal Darkness theorizing how this could be related to prophecy when we think of the Briars of Sin and our Shield of the Guilty and all that stuff. We've also learned how the Selians, thanks to the conspectuses, the Selians are tied to our Eternal City. They had the Nox Handmaiden. What else? Oh, the cultural ties between the Carians and the Selians at the Church of Vows, and this is a Larval tier and the Celestial Dew. You know, there's a lot. There really is almost too much to talk about. How they are fighting against the Greater Will, or they're trying to ward off their intervention. They also control parts of the Academy, at least the Olivianus Conspectus, and then the Haima Conspectus, which allows for. Just trying to get all this stuff back in my memory banks. It's been a while. You tend to forget these things. Drawn from the Scholarly Conspectus of Haima, the adjudicators of the Academy, this sorcery employs the might as a means to quell conflict. And I'm looking for, what does Gowry say about the Selians? Okay, so after giving the needle to Millicent, Gowry gives us the secret. I vow to impart you my knowledge of the lost sorceries of the Selians, descendants of the Eternal. Now, he doesn't say the Eternal City, he just says the Eternal, and immediately when I hear the Eternal, I think Marika the Eternal. So I'm thinking the Selians, who are above Nokron, we have some idea that maybe Marika is tied to the mimics of this place because Marika's mischief, the Mimic's Veil, core of a creature of mimicry known as a larval tear, a silver tear. What do we use to enhance our flask of tears? We use sacred tears. So tears seem to be the mimic thing. The tears are the mimic thing. I think that's pretty safe to say. Tears are the mimic thing. They're also space too, kind of celestial dew. Also are hidden tears, but the descendants of the Eternal. Okay. So, we've done all that theorizing. We're on the same page here. Okay, we're on the same page. Well, this is what Nar brought up. He brought up mists. And, you know, the mist thing, very interesting. Because we were able to buy Night Maiden's Mist from Gowry. So let's put Night Maiden's Mist on our bar. Let's memorize Night Maiden's Mists. So let's just put it at number 1. And see what that looks like. So the Selian, and there it is. There's that silver mist, and it hurts us. My controller's vibrating. I'm choking on that silver mist. Okay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff there. Let's change up Night Maiden's Mist, and let's change Night Maiden's Mist to Freezing Mist. Okay. Oh, it looks very similar. Except it's icy, and it's not going to hurt me. Doesn't hurt me. Okay, that's cool. What other mists do we have? We also have, if we go to our incantations, I believe, we could do, it is one of these, Poison Mist. Now, very similar. These mists, all very similar. So what is mist? Well, mist is, to my understanding, I'm no scientist. It's like little water droplets. It's the only difference between mist and fog is just like how much visibility they change. So not only are we seeing how the mimic tears and the silver tears, how they can mimic, oh gosh, people. I mean, just like going to the mimic tear fight, literally made a 1-for-1 copy of our hero. Mimic mushrooms, mimic herba, mimic people, mimic mist. So they can mimic mist. Let's look at their mists. Let's look at our mists. Where is it? Okay. One of the night sorceries of Celia, Town of Sorcery, releases a life-sapping silver mist before the caster, dealing damage to all caught within, including the caster. The sorcery can be cast while in motion. Below Celia, the eternal city of Nokron sleeps. This sorcery originates from the maidens of that place. Well, sleep, that one's a big, interesting one there. Sleep, we immediately have to think of St. Trina. Okay. St. Trina. We're sleep, mists. Mimics, okay? Following me? Let's look at St. Trina's sword. Silver sword of St. Trina, okay, silver tear, carried by the clerics of St. Trina, inflicts sleep ailment on foes. St. Trina is an enigmatic figure. Some say she's a comely young girl. Others are sure he is a boy. The only certainty is that their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. Okay, well, St. Trina can be a boy or a girl. So could mimics. If someone else walked into that room against that mimic tear, if they were of female build, they would have looked like a woman. However, our very masculine character walked into that room, and it was a very masculine figure in front of us. What do you do to put people asleep with this unique skill? You use the mists of slumber. Mist. Release a faint purple mist that spread across in a wide frontwards area. Okay, so mist. So is it possible that if we can make, if silver, this is silver, so we think silver tears, if they can make silver mist, could the night maidens, when we think night, what do you do at night? You go to sleep. What happens when you sleep? You could dream. The mists of slumber. Is this more evidence that St. Trina is associated to this mimicry? Especially when it's Ranni who used her mists of slumber to put Kale to sleep when she's pretending to be Renna. Or at least, I don't know if she's pretending to be Renna. She tells us her name's Renna. This is Ranni. She goes to sleep. The doll body has to go to sleep. What else? Well, Ranni was taught by the Snowy Crone. Let's look at our mists. Freezing mist. The Snowy Crone taught the young Ranni to fear the dark moon as she imparted her cold sorcery. Interesting. So Ranni was taught freezing mist by the old Snow Witch. And this has no sigil. There's no sigil on freezing mist. There is a sigil on poison mist, but poison mist is also, poison mist is also just water droplets. It's just poison water droplets. But what's interesting about the freezing mist is there's no sigil on it. Is it possible? And we think of, where's the sword? Goodness gracious, golly gee, where could we find this? Here it is. The Nox flowing sword, flowing water. Grim weapon wielded by the swordsman. This shotel has a blade as fine as a needle. Forged from the liquid metal of a silver tear. So silver tears can be liquid, and that is what mist is. It's just little tiny water droplets floating through the air. It has its flowing form. Is it possible that the Snowy Crone and her freezing mist is a copy? Is that possible? Or is this the copy? This is actually, we're thinking original, copy, genuine article. Is Freezing Mist the original, the copy, or the genuine article? Knights, Maidens, Mist, this is a copy for certain. It's from Celia. It's from the Eternal City Nokron. And so far we only have the Swordstress's hat. And they're fighting the Greater Will. Is it possible? Could the Freezing Mist be the genuine article? Another thing I was thinking of is, why is this down here? Well, we see... Hopefully they don't see me. We see the buildings coming through the roof. And a few episodes ago we were theorizing that that this brick might be made of silver tears as well. This might be mimic brick, you know? I mean, it has faces built into these. Could these be the souls inside of the brick that makes these buildings? And if that's the case, where do they come from? Well, if they're built into the ceiling, I was thinking, perhaps some silver tears died right over here. They died in this area. There's also Nokstella's over here. Maybe they died in this area too. It's interesting, actually, just thinking about it. Ancestral followers are up here, and Nokstella's down here. Nokron is down here, and ancestral followers down here. It's interesting that the ancestral followers are above ground with Nokstella, but below ground in Nokron. We'll talk about more about the ancestral followers probably in a future episode. Is it possible that after a silver tear dies, or maybe there was a lot of silver tears who died and they seeped through the ceiling and came down here? Some things to think about. You know, it's like, it's hard to think, like, oh goodness, it's hard to think what is original here. What is original? I think I've shown in a previous episode that the Freezing Mist isn't even original. It comes from Dark Souls 3. This is the Knight's Sacred Ground. Knight's Sacred Ground. Knight's Sacred Ground. Sacred Ground of Night. So this isn't just... This is Nokron Eternal City. This is Nokron. And this is Knight's Sacred Ground. And it's sacred, and this is the Ancestral Woods. So woods for the Ancestor. Sacred Ground for Night. What do we have about Night so far? Prized ingredient in the Eternal City as an ingredient for intoxicating drafts. Well, pale blue glow of a sliver that gives off the pale blue glow of starlight. Starlight easier to see at night. The sun, it's opposite of the sun, so opposite of the sun realm. The Erd Tree seems to be is a replacement for the sun, thanks to our warming stones, giving us that idea that the Erd Tree was once as warm as the gentle sun and would gradually heal all who bathed in its rays. What else do we have of night? Oh, I think Celestial Dew. Once upon a time, the stars of the night sky guided fate. And this is a recollection of this time. So it's sacred ground, and in the night sky, stars guided fate. So night guiding fate. So the sacred grounds of fate. Of night's fate. The fate of night. And Ranni's on the dark path of the Empyrean, and she wants us to get the treasure of Nokron. One of the adventurers down here... Black Bolus, made of cave moss, alleviates Deathblight's buildup. Now that Deathblight, we actually found Deathblight buildup from the Deathbirds do Deathblight. Roger looks like he got Deathblighted. At the front of the Black Knife Catacombs, the Headless Knight and Lutal the Headless both do Deathblight buildup. And when we were in Ainzel, there were some of the Basilisk from Dark Souls that also did Deathblight buildup. So people exploring down here are worried about Deathblight buildup. So Deathblight, is it not? He needed to suffuse himself with death to be able to... He needed to be half dead. Roger needed a little bit of death in him so he could read the Black Knife print from someone who stole a fragment of death from Malekith, which is what Ranni said that she did. Roger said he read this and it was Ranni. And then Ranni said that she also stole it. However, I'm going to say that I don't know if I could conclusively believe that Ranni stole the stole the fragment of death, because it's only what they said. And I'm not trusting Roger anymore. So the concern about death build up here, that's going to come up later. That's definitely going to come up later. We got all of these souls just screaming out of the buildings here. Honestly, I think this is like to show that the... And who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? You look like a night folk. Hey, I think that firmly confirms that there's a rune arc. It is. Mimic rune arc, or did they jump? Did they fall? Okay, that silver tier fell to their death. I think the name is Mimic tier, but we have the HUD turned off right now, so it's not going to say. Yeah, did this guy find a rune arc down here and goes, what the hell is this? What do you have? Celestial Dew. Of course, Celestial Dew comes from this place. This poor adventurer just waiting to die. Part of the academy, or the nobles in the academy. Yeah, so what I wanted to express moving forward, just how difficult it is to really theorize about what we're seeing, because we can't trust if anything is actually original. And what does that even mean to be original? But if everything's a mimic, like, well, they're trying to ward off intervention from the fingers and the greater will. The fingers and the greater will. And to do that, they need mirror helms. They need masks. They need to do mimicry. They need to pretend to be something else. Really, this is what they are. This is at their cores, they are this. Core of a creature of mimicry known as a silver tier. And that is what they are. There's the silver tier right there. But when we get close to a silver tier, at least some of the silver tiers, what do? They take the shape of a person. Another woman, she's using a mace. You know, that's the type of, one of my favorite builds for Dark Souls would be a paladin. So I'd make a female paladin with braids like that. I'd have her use a mace, and then I'd use sunlight blades to make it look like a, mace. Now, this is most definitely, this looks like a night folk. So I think we could say that night folks are just silver tiers that look like people. And she's bleeding red, and night folks used to bleed silver long ago. In Caria Manor, we find the Urumi talking about the night folk, and I think it's safe for us to say that that it means the Karns are definitely descendants of silver tiers, which would, is this cruel irony of how Rennala has to use larval tears to begin resurrecting Ranni. How do I have my spells set up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to memorize my bar. More of those butterflies. Now I have to believe that the butterflies are mimics. These butterflies, they're mimic butterflies. I mean, what else am I supposed to believe? I want to do a little introspection. Goodness. I want to do introspection about, I chose the channel name, Jack is a Mimic. And the thing that really jumped out to me was the tears. Could this be a bird? Could this be a bird? No, this is not a bird. These are butterflies. And why did I choose Jack is a Mimic? Well, I thought people who understand Elden Ring would say, okay, well, mimics, mimic tears. Okay, well, that means Jack is made of tears. So he's sad. What else about Jack did I want people to think about? If Jack is a mimic, Well, that means Jack... Who is Jack? I mean, if he's a mimic, then that means he's not really the person I'm looking at. He's mimicking someone else. Well, who is he mimicking? If Jack is a mimic, who is the original Jack? Who is the original? It's definitely the case that I don't think there's any other channel like mine out there. Hey, get back here. Give me some of that juice. So down in Nokron, down in the Eternal City, with all the mimics, they can make Crimson Tears. How did he roll up Crimson Tears here? Okay, well, so turns out Crimson Tears from a Flask of Tears, mimicry. We got some things to talk about. But, you know what? Let's pick up this wet blade. Let's talk about this black wet blade. Wet blade with a cipher engraved. Can be used as a whetstone knife when applying the affinity using physical or occult type ashes of war and additional affinity of poison, blood, or occult can be chosen, and those scale with the arcane. A black wet blade, a black blade. You know, when I think of black blades, I think of the Great Sword. This is a black blade. That's a black blade. So I wanted people to think, well, what does that mean? Jack is a mimic. Who is Jack? Well, from just looking at Jack, listening to the words that he said for over 100 hours. I mean, some people even re-watch my videos, even episodes of the Mimic Commentary. Jack is a physically active person. He runs long distance, multiple marathons. He trains jiu-jitsu. He exercises at the gym. He's a physically active person. He's got a lot of stamina and endurance, strength. He's a brave person. Well, of course he's brave. Anyone who goes on the internet to share their opinions, there takes a little bit of bravery, because you're opening yourself up to being hurt by somebody else telling you that you're wrong, telling you there's something wrong with you because of the things that you believe. Not only does he do that, but he also posts his face on the internet and ties his name and face to his opinions about a fantasy game. He's a professional. He works in a professional environment. And so someone in his profession can see that he makes videos about a fantasy game and could judge him on that. But he's brave at least, he seems very brave to post these things and not fear judgment. What else do we know about Jack? Well, I would say, I think Jack is physically attractive. I think he's a physically attractive person. Full head of hair, physically fit, a strong jawline, beautiful blue eyes. I think Jack is a physically attractive man. What else do we know about Jack? Well, he's successful, not just in the YouTube channel. Some people might measure success of how much could you make on YouTube, but Jack is a working professional who's educated, who has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, who works in a difficult field with a high burnout rate in cybersecurity, and is married, owns a home. All successful markers. Young, too, only 30 years old. So has a house, has a wife, makes over 6 figures a year with their salary. He also makes around $1,000 extra a month from posting videos on YouTube. Physically active. He seems to have a lot of friends too. Not only has he garnered an audience of 17,000 subscribers and 200 paying members who want to listen to him speak, he's able to almost fit in with nearly any group of people. You know, the people at Jiu-Jitsu aren't really the type of political demographic he'd normally hang out with, but he's friends with all the people there. The people there seem to like him. They ask to hang out with him. At his job, people like him. He gets congratulated by people higher up for the work that he does. People that he talks to, strangers on the internet, open up to him. They say things like that Jack is very kind for listening. And there's one other thing about Jack. When he was a child, something terrible happened to him. Now we don't have to go into details. You already know what it is. But in spite of that, he has all these other things. This person that you see in front of you, all of these accomplishments, these strengths. He has all these things in spite of that terrible thing that happened. But because of that terrible thing that happened, when the person you know as Jack looks at those accomplishments and looks at all of he has, he doesn't always feel happy. He doesn't always feel joy. Sometimes he thinks about a black wet blade. How it feels like there's poison running through his veins. And the only way to make it feel better is to take that black wet blade and turn that poison into blood. Why does he feel like that? What does he have to do to not feel like that anymore? Sometimes he tries to tell people what that feels like. He tries to express what those feelings are. People who care about him, people who love him, people who feel like they claim to understand him. But sometimes he doesn't notice that. Sometimes what he notices is how uncomfortable they feel when talking about those things. How they would rather direct the attention to something else. Direct the attention to the nicer things. Direct the attention to the good things. Things that make us happy. Let's look at that instead. Sometimes he hears the strain in their voice. Sometimes he feels how awkward it feels for them to act like that. What Jack doesn't really tell many people is that I guess he's told them all along. It's all in the name. Jack is a mimic. It's an act. It feels like an act all of the time. Sometimes he'll forget that he's playing a role. He'll forget this character that he's developed. But other times he remembers. Like, have you ever thought, I only like certain things because I know the people around me like them? And if I like them too, well, then they'll like me. So what if I know a lot about these things? What if I could become fluent in talking about these things, knowing the language it is that they're trying to speak so they'll like me? There's so much I don't care about. There's so much about Jack that he doesn't care about. But he puts a lot of thought and energy and money, resources into participating, in learning, in putting it as part of his identity so the people around him will like him. He does that for some very close and special people in his life, because he knows that it will make them happy. But he doesn't know what makes him happy. He's not even really sure what makes him sad. He just knows that he feels them. It's just sometimes it just feels like it's all a game. Really does. Just feels like it's all a game. And you know, the only if you choose not to play, well then that's it, buddy. Game over. So if you're gonna play, why not play to win? Play to have fun. Well, how do you have fun if you don't win? You don't want to lose. You get a trophy for even participating? You don't even get a trophy for winning. What do you get? What do you get for playing? Well, I'll tell you this much. Ain't it weird? Look at this stuff. Wait. This is water? This is silver tears. This isn't water. There's silver tears in this coffin, huh? Splish splash, taking a bath. Hey, look at the silver plants. They're all mimicry. I got the little droplets coming from them. And look, they're dripping on the floor. This is all mimic stuff. It's all made of tears. Like, that's the thing about this city. It's a city of tears. It really is. Just a city of tears. Like, that is the symbolism. And it's growing out of this. This is all just, it's like, the tears are real. Like, the only thing about this place that's real are the tears. Everything else is fake. What does that say about the analysis that we're doing about Elden Ring? Well, if everything, like, I Google my name sometimes. I search through Reddit to see what people say about my name, and that when my name comes up, they say, "Oh, the guy who thinks everything is a mimic or everything's a mimic tier," without even thinking further, like them going, "Well, what does that mean?" It means that none of this is real, but the only thing that is real is the tear. But even the tears aren't real. The tears are copies. The sadness, it's sadness, or it could be joy. Tears of joy. It's the emotion. The only thing that's real in Elden Ring is the emotion. It's the feeling. Or I should say, it's not. I could say it's not even the feeling that's real, because the silver tears just make copies. In fact, what do they call? It makes mockery of life. It makes mockery of life. This isn't real feeling. Like, these aren't real characters with real feelings. It's only the feelings you give them. They're your feelings. They're it's like making fun of you. All the time you spend and you invest trying to tell this story for what? For what? To feel what they're feeling? Well, what are they feeling? Well, they're only feeling what you're feeling. So what are you feeling? If my character jumped, he wouldn't feel a goddamn thing when he hit the ground. But he'd be able to get back up and just do it over again. Hey, what was locked in here? Bunch of coffins. Who died? What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. What's in the coffin? What's in the box? How if I know? It's fake. Who cares? Hey. What's in the box? Punk. Oh, she sounded like she was crying. Well, she was venerating this chest. Same chest that we find in the underground coffin things, the chair crypts. Oh, I just felt like something was following me. That was weird. I thought something was moving. What do you got here? Hey, is this a real adventurer, or is he a fake adventurer? Alright, so we got chests in here. What do we got on the walls? Oh, crap. The powerful here, you know what? We know it's in the chest. Alright, so we have these women pouring out their libation. There's silver tears in here, maybe, or they're sacred tears. Who's to say? Then we got these black orbs. Is this an original chest, or is this a mimic chest? Who are they mimicking? I guess the big thing about the tears, what we could say about them being copies, is that if this place is a copy, what is the original? So obviously Nokron is not the original city. It's not the original Eternal City. So what is the original Eternal City? It wasn't Noxtella. That's also pretty mimicky. So we have three. We have original copy, genuine article. So one of them's the genuine article, one of them's the original, one of them's a copy? Or is there multiple? Okay, what's in the chest? Ooh, it's legendary. Oh, it's legendary, alright. Alright, so all of these souls, statues of souls around the swordstress. What do they do? What does the swordstress do? The swordstress, guards, personal guard of the Night Maiden. The personal guard of the Night Maiden, which have the mimic tear ashes. Oh boy. A legendary ash. Legendary ashen remains used to summon the spirit of a mimic tear. Summoning consumes HP rather than FP. Holy moly, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentle mimics. Ladies and gentle mimics. Summoning consumes HP rather than FP. Summoning consumes HP rather than FP. Summoning consumes HP rather than FP. Are Miranda sprouts silver tears? Are land squirts silver tears? What do you get from killing land squirts? Strip of white flesh. Bloodless creature. They don't have blood. So, I think that one says put a nip down in the bud. Can't even tell. Nip down in the bud because they're Miranda sprouts. These man-eating Miranda. You know what? Even they feed upon human flesh. They feed upon human flesh, that's important. They feed upon human flesh, and because they can feed upon human flesh, they can procreate, and they man-eating Miranda flowers. So because they eat human flesh, they can make, the perfumers can make fragrance. What do they make? What is it called? Aromatics. What am I thinking of? Acid spray mist. Mist. They make perfumes. So you can smell nice for your lover. What was I thinking of? Oh, yes, the ovaries. Not crab eggs. Octopus land ovary. Land octopus eat humans in order to bear young, and theirs is the blood that runs through the ovaries. Oh, we needed to pick something up. That would make this a very exciting conversation. But they need HP rather than FP to be summoned, so land octopi also mimics, okay? Also mimics. I don't know. If I was, I don't think, I've been doing this meditation class, and they've been trying to say that, you want to be you want to judge, you want to become you don't want to judge, you want to be an observer, and to be, and they say we're not trying to change you, we're not trying to change Jack, but what we want you to recognize is that, Jack is just just an identity, a series of perceptions that you create, and the world that we experience is really just the world as we perceive it, and that we all perceive the world differently, so we all perceive different realities. But I don't think, but not everyone. You know, there's some things that you can't see. You can't see eternal darkness. You don't know what eternal darkness looks like unless you've actually seen it. Like, if you... the thing like, oh, he just thinks everything's a mimic. Like, imagine what that feels like. I want you to think how that feels like, to just go through life and feel like, oh, I'm fake. I'm faking it. I'm faking everything. And then something changes and you're like, well, if I'm faking everything, who's being genuine? I almost feel like I'm genuine in that I'm faking it. But all these other people, they're just faking it and they're pretending like we don't notice. I mean, I notice. I could tell when you're faking it. Like I know I know so many of my deep insecurities. What I feel like, oh my God, if someone knew about me, I would be ruined. But like, really? Is that? No, I don't think so. I mean, how many people come out and just like say straight up, you know, anyone can watch these videos, anyone can, and you dive deep into my things and say, oh, you know, Jack, who's also Jack? Well, Jack also has pornography addiction. Jack is susceptible to gambling addiction. What else about Jack? Oh, if you watch some of the BTS, I don't even want to repeat it. I don't even want to repeat it. I don't even want to repeat it. I don't even want to tell you. Hide it. I don't want you to see what I look like. Just this little blob. This little blob. But the power is I know there's other little blobs out there too. They might not even know they're a mimic tier. They might not know. Some people manipulate that. Some people know that's the case. Some other people have done that too. Cult leaders, you know, I did that video about cults. They know. Like, I'm gonna be straight up. I've had emails with people. I've had conversations with people, fans in my audience. If I was a nefarious person, I could manipulate the vulnerable portion of my audience with my own vulnerability to get what I wanted. More money, sexual images, you know, power over others. I could do that. But why would I do that? To me, I think that's evil. That's wrong. So I guess that's another thing we can say about Jack. Jack has a moral compass. Jack has a moral code. Jack does not want to hurt other mimics. It's okay to make them cry. But he doesn't want to be the one who hurts them. It's okay to make mimics cry, but he doesn't want to be the one who hurts them. And if anything, that is what Jack cares about the most. It's not hurting someone else. Well, if I was to summon this mimic tier Ash, it would take the form of the summoner to fight alongside them. But its mimicry does not extend to imitating the summoner's will. Mimic tiers are the result of an attempt by the Eternal City to forge a lord. Forge. What a loaded item. So before we do the lore on that, one of the things about the mimic commentary is I want my audience to mimic me. That's part of the mimic commentary. Someone said to me in one of the comments, they started using deduced in their vocabulary, and I was writing out the comment, and I was like, well, let me know what other words you want me to introduce into my vocabulary so we can continue the mental conditioning. But I changed that and I just said so we can enhance your vocabulary as well. And I meant the mental conditioning, because that is, I know you were friendly, but you attacked first. And I do mean the mental conditioning, because if you are listening to me talk enough, and repeat certain motifs, like, you know, as someone, I think one of our members mentioned, how many times, you know, Jack will repeat the blue dancer charm. The dancer in blue represents a fairy who in legend bestowed a flowing sword upon a blind swordsman, blade in hand. The swordsman sealed away an ancient god, a god that was wrought itself. My goal for the mimic commentary is to get people in my audience to mimic me. Mimic the things I want them to mimic by presenting a version of myself that I think would be valuable. So, someone who has gone through atrocities as a child and has come out on the other end physically fit, motivated, inquisitive, kind. Those are the things I want. I want to be this version of a person that someone will see and think, I'd like to be like that. Because golly gee, I'd like to be like that too. So if I play that role, if I play the part of the hero, perhaps I will actually be the hero by motivating someone else, and there's more motherfucking butterflies just everywhere. Nascent butterflies all over the place. And I'm sorry for swearing, but we're using these as symbolism, so I don't have to actually talk about these things. We could just talk about the mimic commentary. So let's get back to the mimic tear ashes. And hey, I'm just looking at the clock in this episode. This is probably going to be a long episode. 20 more minutes. We're going to get 20 more minutes and we'll have to we'll end it there. Jeez Louise, this is gross. Look at that. They're sludgy. They're sludge people. And that's just a ball. Okay. What'd you have? The flowing hammer. Okay. Cool. I gotta talk about the mimic tear ashes. I'm going all over the place. I'm getting fired up. I'm fired up. I'm getting ramped up. I just want to use it. That's fun. That was fun. That was fun. I like that. That was cool. Wait, let me do that again. Oh, that was cool. That was cool. Okay. Oh, where were we? Okay. The spirit takes the form of the summoner to fight alongside them, but its mimicry does not extend to imitating the summoner's will. So it will take the form of a person, it will look like a person, but the silver tear will have its own will. It doesn't imitate the summoner's will, it just takes their form. So it's not going to, and when you think will, well, greater will, force of will, humanity has a will of its own. Dark Souls 1, the Pursuer's spell talks about the will that humanity has, and it's either driven by love or it's driven by envy, whatever. It's the will that drives it to a trite and tragic ending. So if I was to summon this, I can't, if you imitate me, you don't have the same will as I do. So you're not losing your autonomy, which is good to know. It's if Jack is a mimic, he's a mimic with his own will, which is good. I recently learned, so I've talked about Epic Name Bro, and I was Googling him because I wanted to maybe talk about him in a public video and maybe mention how he was an inspiration for me. But did you know that part of the reason he got divorced was because his wife accused him of being emotionally manipulative against her and his daughter? And I thought, well, I don't want to be called Jack as a mimic, and then, the joke is, Jack as a mimic has all this depth and complexity. Isn't that such an epic name, bro? Because of E&B, because of Epic Name Bro. My name is epic because of the depth and complexity and the nuance and everything I put into that name and how I try to embody that name and the story that I'm telling myself. Isn't that such an epic name, bro? I don't want it to be tied to that, and you look up Epic Name Bro, and it's oh yeah, so Jack, his motivation, his influence was the guy who emotionally abused his wife. So he's trying to mimic an emotional manipulator. Then we could say, well, maybe Ian B, he was pretending to be this nice guy on camera, and when he did his Let's Plays, and Jack's doing the same thing. He's also trying to manipulate his audience to like him by being endearing. Hey, maybe his abuse as a kid, maybe that's not even real. Huh? Maybe it's not even real. Do I want someone to say that to me? No, I don't. I don't want someone to say that to me. Mimic tears are the result of an attempt by the Eternal City to forge a lord. Okay, of an attempt. So they've made multiple attempts. The silver tear makes mockery of life. So the silver tear is not a mimic tear, but it can be. A silver tear can be a mimic tear. Reborn again and again into imitation, perhaps one day it will be reborn a lord. Perhaps one day it will be a mimic tear, and it could forge a lord. So to forge a lord, so first I'm thinking forge, we're thinking forgery, okay? A fake, a BS copy. So they're trying to, if we think about our tarnished is the prophesized tarnished, well then they would want to copy a tarnished who could become a lord, and then that'd be the bee's knees, that'd be the cat's pajamas. We got a lord coming along, let's just replace him, then we forge that lord. Forge also makes me think, well, we have to go the forge, the ruinous blaze, fell god, fire giants, the flame of ruin, fire giants, war against the giants. Do we have Erd Tree, Beguiles? Oh, wait, you know what it is? It's all coming back to me. It is the... Wait. Half ashen and smoldering fire bones and mountaintops of giants. Fertilized by the there we go. Fertilized from the by the sparks from the forge at the peak where it burns the flame of ruin. So these fire blossoms are fertilized by the flame of ruin, which is at the forge, and that is where our tarnished is prophesied to go to burn the Erd Tree, and that's how we become Elden Lord. So to forge a lord, well, at the forge of giants, that's a necessary step for our tarnished to become Elden Lord. Who else forges? Hugh forges. He's a blacksmith. He has a forge. E.G. forges. He's a blacksmith. He's got a hammer. Right after we got the Mimic Tear Ashes, we got the Nox Flowing Hammer, mace-shaped like a suspended metal droplet wielded by the monks of the Eternal City. Looks like a little droplet. Oh, droplet. Here's another one. Droplet is in we'll talk about this in the BTS for the script that I'm trying to write. Mostly in Japanese, they don't have tears in Elden Ring. They just have droplets. Here's one of the droplets. Forged from the liquid metal from a silver tear, it is thoroughly tempered to harden. So, I gotta look more into this, but I had someone tell me once. I'm gonna say their name. I think I don't like saying people's names, but I'm gonna tell you. When I first started doing lore theorizing, I got bullied by the YouTuber and Japanese translator Last Protagonist. He was one of my bullies, and I think it was him when I asked him. I was getting bullied in his Discord, and I was like, don't you see all of the tears in Elden Ring? Don't you see all the tears? And he said, well, in Japanese, they're not tears, they're droplets. Oh, okay. There's no sadness. There's nothing. And I still have a gripe against him. You really hurt my confidence. Oh, hey, look. Swing the armament like a whip to strike surroundings before slamming its teardrop-shaped head down. Okay, well, it's just these people. You know what? Let's take the mask off for a second. These people. What are you doing down there? These Night Maidens are upset. They like to act all high and mighty, that they're so smart and they're so much better than people who don't speak Japanese, who can't read the original translation, and they miss just simple things like that because they think they're so much better than everyone else. They have no care of listening to what someone else has to say, and so they'll bully them directly, they'll bully them in their Discord server, they'll send them messages in their DMs, or they'll go into other private Discords with other lore theorizers and maybe even other content creators and talk about them as well. That is a Duplicitous mimic. That is someone who tries to act like they're so fair and reasonable in their Reddit comments, in their live streams, and then behind your back, what do? They talk about you. Now, Last Protagonist and I were never really friends, but maybe if you know the history of this channel, I also had someone who I thought was my friend, and they did the same thing. I once had phone calls with this person where I cried to them. I didn't understand why I was getting bullied by other YouTubers. And this person acted like, gosh, I don't know why either. Let me talk to them for you. And you want to know what they told those people? They said, don't trust Jack. Don't trust him. There's something rotten about him. Can you imagine? Can you literally imagine? How much duplicity someone has to have to do that? And you know what? I forgave them because I thought the reason why they lashed out at me was because they were hurting and there was something bothering them and they didn't know how to express it. And it just felt easier to talk about me behind my back than it did to confront their own feelings. And I forgave them. I said, I'm not going to be your friend anymore, but I forgive you. But I'm still really hurt by that. And it makes it difficult for me to want to talk about these types of topics and ideas and what Elden Ring is trying to say because of how many people, when I first started making videos, got close to me and then hurt me. You know, even some of the people who did apologize to me after that incident, after the bullying, who are names that are still, you know, you'll see their names pop up in some other people's YouTube channels. They said, you know, they did apologize to me. They said, oh, you know, I believe the lies of this other person, but you're the one who sent me messages too. You said mean things to me. I poured my heart out to the world, and I said what happened to me, and here are the things I'm ashamed of, and here are the things that make me upset, and here are my tears. And still, the audacity to say that I am being fake. I am the realest motherfucker on this goddamn forsaken platform. And I'm angry that I get treated like I'm a phony. Because I'm not. I'm not. I'm as real as can be. I'm so goddamn real, I tell you when I'm being fake. And it really pisses me off. It really makes me mad. It really makes me frickin' mad. Alrighty, buddy. You know the drill. Let's do the thing. Oh, ran out of juice. Let's try again. Alrighty, buddy. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.